Welcome to SerialPodcastNine.
All right, let's start the episode.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Kevin Peterson.
And I'm Gerard Peralta.
And I'm Ryan Benoit. And this is SerialPodcastNine, episode 51.
51.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
It is.
Now, if we only had a topic. I do have questions. I got two questions.
Question me up.
All right. Well, one of them is actually fully for you. And I had put this question off and I feel really bad. So I get to ask it now. And it's from Oli Gordon. Kind of sounds like Olive Garden, but Oli Gordon. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's on Instagram.
You know that guy, yeah.
Yeah, you do. Everyone who reaches out to me now knows Gerard. And then I'm always like, oh, you should send that to Gerard. I'm like, I have. And I'm like, okay. Anyway.
They have?
Not this person, someone else. That's a story for another day.
All right. Unlimited breadsticks. Let's go.
Yeah. Unlimited breadsticks. Also pretty sure this guy's Australian because he called me mate, which is great. I like that we have people in Australia that listen. Hey, mate. Hope you and the guys are well. I have another question for the podcast. What's the story with the 17 Crown that's missing a rear bar on top of the shipping container? Exclamation point. And that is a Kevin question because Kevin loves crowns.
Yeah. So I was able to get that crown for cheap because somebody tried to import it into the United States legally, and they got caught at the border, so the car got sent back to Canada or never made it in the States, whatever. So it was a five-speed 1J car, and then when the car got brought back here, they just took the drivetrain out of it because it can't be insured in Canada anymore, and it can't obviously go to the States. So it's kind of an uninsurable car. At the time when I bought it, my plan was to drift my 17 Crown, get rid of the Altezza or something. I don't really know what the plan with the Altezza was, but I wanted to drift the 17 Crown that I'm currently using as my fun summer daily car. But yeah, if my theory was if I needed a tail light or a door or a headlight or something, which I inevitably would, it was much cheaper just to buy this whole car for all of those parts than to try and source the parts when I needed them. So that's what I did. And the car kind of has no future, if you will. So I just put it up on top of the shipping container to kind of get it out of the way. But yeah, I've taken a bunch of parts off of it while it's been up there still. So it's not totally useless.
Do you have to get up on a ladder and then climb up on the shipping container?
Yeah.
That sounds like a real work safe problem.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I guess you're used to climbing trees and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I just do it myself.
I get it. All right. Hey, that's good. So real cool. So I was told that car was meant to be like, it had to be proven that it was destroyed. I learned that at Wakefest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I
did not hear anything about that. But I mean, if you want to destroy a car, it's a good way is just to give it to me. So.
To Kevin. Rami said that he had to prove that it was destroyed. And so he had to go over there and take a picture of it and send it to the people. And it's not on the road. So there you go. A good way to destroy a car is to give it to Kevin. Here's a fun podcast question that we've never done. It comes from at Dodo Ryan B. I think that's how you say his name. Oh, okay. Where's the weirdest place you've ever done the podcast from?
Well, I've done it once from the outside deck of I'm gonna say lake house, and everyone's like, "Oh, you fucking go to lake house, lake house."
Yeah, probably. Like, yeah. Well, I mean, a little bit, but go on. Probably got that. Did you win it in a game of squash?
So the deck, the exterior deck of the lake house, which is it's fine because it's outside. But today, that lake house is completely full and there are lots of people in there. So I'm in a van outside the lake house with a long extension cord running to the van. And I think today it was like 36 degrees or some shit. Like it was hot as hell. What's the temp currently out here? 22 degrees right now. And I'm in the van with all the windows open and I'm just drenched in sweat. It's just
dude, my Dyson right now saying like in the room I'm in is 31.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah.
And I have the like
10:30 at night, 31 degrees.
Yeah, I have like the laptop propped up on an upside down car seat in the middle row of our van, and I'm sitting in the back seat of our van, trying not to overheat because the back windows don't open, only the side windows open. People are walking by, like looking at my laptop and listening to me talk and stuff. So yeah, it is what it is.
It's the podcast live. They're probably fans of. They're like, "Yo, that's Serial Podcast Nine."
They're pulling up the Muskoka chair right now. So
coming straight to you live from a Toyota Sienna.
Because I feel like Ryan has done it a couple of times from like his in-laws' place, but like I've only ever done it from like my house or my apartment.
I did it in Melville, Saskatchewan once, I think, and then I did it in Regina once. But when I was in Melville, the sound traveled very badly in that house. So I always had to be very quiet. And it was, so I wasn't very vocal that episode. And I couldn't go outside because the mosquitoes are so bad in Melville, Saskatchewan, that it would have been the worst. So I didn't even have an option to be, I couldn't go to my lake house, you know?
I'm currently in Lake Cowichan on the island.
Yeah, I do like that you're like, people will make fun of me for living on having a lake house. And it's like, no, Ryan will make fun of you for having a lake house. But everyone else will just be stoked for you.
Like you also, it's not your lake house. It's like, you're
it's
getting
like
to use you have access to
family.
Part of the family's lake house.
I mean, it's funny though, because I guess Kevin's only ever done it in that exact spot. I've done it. Remember, I used to do it in my garage at my other place.
Yeah.
And then when my mom moved out, I had to do it like because we were downstairs. Moving. I had to do it downstairs in an empty bunch of boxes to not super echo in a completely empty room.
Sometimes you do it in the kids' room or whatever too.
Yeah.
And that one time he had the TV on in the background, and he did it in his kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was in our
Gerard's
living
definitely
room
done
of
it
that place.
Gerard's done it in those places.
And for the person who cares about audio quality the most, he's had like the weirdest setups out of all of us. I feel like, just like straight up putting a sock over like microphone, and and like being set up on cardboard boxes, and very weird juxtaposition. Anyway, thanks.
I used to do it from my bedroom, and then my neighbor moved, and we had a new neighbor. And then he complained that I was like basically like yelling into the computer till midnight. And then so now I do it from my living room, where the other woman across the way like is super old and doesn't give a shit about anything. So,
man, could you imagine having to explain that? He's like, oh, he like games every second Wednesday, and it's like the more embarrassing thing is like, no, I have a podcast about cars that I yell at my friends about.
Dude, I honestly gave him full benefit of the doubt. I was like, hey, like that makes sense, like blah 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 blah. And then like immediately after, he was like telling me to not keep my phone near the bed because the waves make it so he can't sleep. And I was just like, all right, dude, like get the fuck away from my door. Like you've lost all credibility.
See you later, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. I
like that question. Thank you
like that
there, to Ryan.
Yeah.
Dodo Logic.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Good job at Dodo Ryan B.
Maybe next time we'll do the podcast traveling. Like we should have done the podcast. I mean, we didn't have it back then, but we did a similar thing. It was like questions.
I told Ryan about that.
But when we did it in Daryl's truck,
in Daryl's truck, exactly. Yeah. We filmed we filmed and asked everybody questions. I mean, that footage is probably somewhere. But.
I guess somebody could edit it.
I talked to.
Hey, I don't really have a topic for tonight, so I'm just going to say some random shit, and then we'll see where it goes. I saw that the new Type R is coming out. Have you guys seen the new Type R?
Yeah, I have seen the new Type R.
It's not a Gundam. How do you feel about that?
I personally am not a fan. Everyone's just going to say, Gerard, you're such a hater. You don't like the GR fucking Corolla. You don't like the Type R Civic, which I normally do like Type R Civics. I just feel like a lot of the Hondas like could look so cool. And then they brought out this Type R that just kind of looks very. It's not even just like watered down. It's like a confused, boring. It's like somebody was like, yo, that last Type R, guys, like it was just too much. Like the last Type R, too nuts.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's the opposite of the side of the pendulum.
Yeah.
Like they were allowed to go full Gundam, and then now the pendulums come back and they have to go like full anti-Gundam, like Beluga or whatever.
Yeah,
it just looks like they rounded off all the corners and like took away all the coolness. It feels like.
Yeah, and it's weird too because like the previous generation Hondas started looking really, really sick, but like this last generation, they started looking like kind of sort of pretty like basic. Like they went back and they're a lot more conservative. Like the headlights are kind of like, they're not super sharp. They're not super like angular. You know, the taillights are kind of like also less angular. The body lines are less sharp. It's just kind of lame. I don't know.
It's interesting because I also agree with that. Like, yeah, I don't know. Just like it doesn't really do as much for me as the previous gen did.
Oh, yeah. I was more amped on it because it was less of a Gundam, and I was like, now you can make it look like a Gundam if you choose. Which, if you recall, my theory was it would be funny if somebody bought the Gundam Type R and then dialed it back, like if their build was like to make it like
more subtle.
Like it shouldn't have all these fake vents on it and like, you know, whatever. And now it has like functional vent, like the new one has functional vents on it, which is kind of cool. But
I mean, a lot of people were comparing this one to a Charger, and I mean, it definitely has like Charger-esque front end and stuff. But I mean,
yeah, from a couple of angles, they're like
I feel like it's weird when people compare stuff so much, but like I think
feel like it's weird when people compare stuff. All we do is compare stuff.
No, I just mean like it's like they need to sort of compare it to something, and they're just reaching like a Charger and a Civic. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, to me that they're not very comparable. Like, I mean, the headlights, it's a stretch. You know what I mean? Like to be like, oh yeah, this looks like a Charger. It's like, in no way, shape, or form does that fucking car look like a Charger. So I don't know. But anyways, I think the wing's pretty cool. It's like a crazy, legit, like GT wing.
Yeah, the wing looks dope. I think I maybe like it better than the Gundam one. But then a little bit of me was like, oh, maybe I like the Gundam one now that the new one's like. And then I thought maybe I only like old things, and that's my problem that I have to work through. Like I'm not interested in new things.
You're not an early adopter.
Not an early adopter. I just like old stuff. That's not true. I like this.
I feel like you know, like apart from being an early adopter or not, though, like sometimes when a new version comes out, that like allows you to be like, you know what? I think I like where the pendulum was at on the last generation, and maybe the pendulum wasn't there, you know, for 2 generations. So now, like, you know,
yeah,
like, they're
you only get a shot at it every second generation.
I'm seeing things about a coupe. I don't know if that's just like some bullshit, you know, thing. But like, I think in a coupe it might look a bit better. But let me just take a closer look at it. I honestly haven't looked at it that much.
Yeah, same.
I mean, the chances of any of us ever buying a newer Type R seems pretty like slim.
Yeah.
So the wing is sick. Yeah, the wing is fully sick. The wheels are 19s now. I think they went back down to a 19. So that's fucking sick. 19 is like the best size.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sick car. Like the seats are nuts. Mm-hmm. Interior looks rad.
I don't know. I'm like looking right now and I see like 3 different front bumpers. It looks like in my whole one looks pretty lame.
That's how
those seats are nuts.
But yeah, on like is
it's
anyone
weird because like
probably not.
No, but I mean it's cool to talk about. It's weird because like I like the elements of it, but I feel like the whole combined thing is just kind of not. I like the hatchback. The shape is kind of cool. It would look good with like a big wing, like not the pasted on GT wing, but like a wing that extends over the taillights. That's kind of would be sick. I don't know how I feel about that the C-pillar window, weird like jog in the window.
Yeah,
I don't think that's cool. And I think that whole like kind of weird teardrop overall shape is just a bit it's just kind of like not. I don't like the side profile of the front end.
I don't like the 3-quarter profile of the front end.
Yeah, like it looks really good from the front, like directly from the front, but somehow the overhanging hood over the lights and then the bumper jutting out, it looks a bit like bullish or like overbitey, where I feel like the front should look sleek and kind of like doesn't match the back. The back like looks pretty good, except for that weird window jog that I'm not really super fan of.
I mean, don't they have like a weird window jog on the Odyssey and stuff too? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the gauge cluster is pretty nuts. I mean, would I take it over a fucking Porsche or a Z or anything? I mean, I'm gonna say no.
Hey! Would you take it over a Charger?
I mean, I don't know, man. No, they got Charger SRTs. Pretty fucking cool, man. Like it's a V8, it's rear wheel drive. It's got a ton of power. It like looks pretty sick when it's dumped.
Yeah. I sometimes forget that you're from Surrey. Sorry.
I mean, the only downside of a Charger, realistically, in my eyes, is that it's a Dodge.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. If a manufacturer that we liked made that car, we would really like it. That's the.
I used to love the 300, and I was like, "Yo, Gerard, I'm building a 300. It's gonna be so sick." And you're like, "Dude, the suspension's so whack. It's never gonna work."
It's not though. The suspension.
Don't even try. I swear, you told me like, don't even bother. But I mean, obviously,
it's just because it was so big.
Yeah,
I think they're big and heavy.
That would be so hilarious. Like
says the guy that buys a bunch of wagons. For some reason, that's not surprising that Kevin would want a Chrysler 300.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Chargers in my hood are sick. I mean, like,
yeah, I'm kind of down with the Chargers.
And at the end of the day, man, it's like it's rear wheel drive. It does burnouts. You could drift it. Like, that in itself is already, it sounds sick. They're fast as fuck. They have these huge brakes. You could fit like really sick big ass wheels on them. I mean, that's like way better than a Type R in my books. The only reason I'd want the Type R is probably because, like, if I was buying a track car, like, why would you ever want?
You don't want a track car Charger, bro?
I guess you probably could, but
that'd be a thing. You could do that, live that life.
But realistically, why would anybody choose a front wheel drive car over a rear wheel drive car, like car for car? Like, there's no reason whatsoever.
Well, now that can bring me to the next point: is we went to Wakefest. I'm going to say Weekfest, all of the variations of how to say that name. Someone on YouTube did say, yeah, if you answer the question all the ways. Just sounds like you're cutting out, Kevin.
It sounds like you're cutting out.
Weekfest. There's a lot of Hondas there. Yeah, why do all those people want Hondas, Gerard? Why didn't they give Kevin an award? No, I'm joking.
Leave Ryan alone.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Hondas, but
it sounds like you love Chargers and you don't care about Hondas from your last statement.
Man, like, dude, you can't have fun in a front wheel drive car. Like, you can have fun up to here, but you can't like get up to, you can't keep going.
For the people at home that Kevin forgot that this is not a visual medium, the up to here was much higher. Like, so the first one was low and then the next one was very high up, like over his head. Did I describe that properly, Kevin?
Yeah, you did. That's perfect.
Okay, good.
For the visually impaired.
Yeah,
that's exactly what
which is everyone listening to this.
I mean, unfortunately, between a Charger and whatever is like you have to live with the Dodgeness of it, which means your interior probably sucks. Like, I'm sure the seats are decent because they're probably Recaros or something, but like
super cheap Radley plastic and like
all the switch gear and dashboard.
Probably has like brushed aluminum and stuff.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, a car is a car. You drive it, and I mean, like, does the engine sound sick?
That's not true at all. Oh, fuck. Whatever.
Yes.
There's no way you're driving that car. All right. Yeah, Gerard. Hit me with it.
So, like, why do you drive your Aristo? Like, you know what I mean? Because you think the Aristo's cool because it makes the right noises. It looks sort of cool, but like, is it a nice car?
It looks sort of cool. How dare you? No, is it a nice car?
What kind of stereo do you have in that thing?
Oh, no, the stereo doesn't work. I got a 2JZ that makes noise.
Exactly.
You know,
No
don't
stereo.
you have some like Harman Kardon crazy shit in there? No, doesn't have some like
it does, but it's not
speaker
hooked
shit.
up. I would need Gerard to look at. It does, like my stereo does not work.
It doesn't even have stereo.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Are the
like,
seats nice?
they are comfortable.
Comfortable.
I
They're
think I will
definitely
actually
good.
say this.
I'd say they're good seats if you're just driving around, but if you want to be sporting, they're definitely not the correct seats for the car.
I will say,
But I mean, also
that. Okay, go on before I say my thing.
I was
Say
just saying, like even just seats generally in the last like 10, 15 years, like what would be considered an average seat for today is probably still nicer than your seat in the Aristo.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say that I think
Guarantee you a Charger has nicer seats than your Aristo. Like
I don't
fucking
I'm never driving a fucking Charger because that is not on my list of things.
Dude, you're gonna rent a compact car and you're gonna show up and it's gonna be a Charger.
Well, I'm not gonna buy a
we
Charger.
upgraded you for free.
And then I'll be like just swearing. Fuck this shit. Give me the Volvo. No, I do actually think that the Aristo is more comfortable, like an all-around more comfortable, maybe quality built car than the Prius. Like, which is a weird thing to.
I mean, yeah, you literally have two vehicles of almost the same generation.
Well, yes,
but
the
you have
third one too.
Premium version.
I got a 2010 Prius.
The 4Runner.
And the 4Runner is a 2000 or 99. So the 99 and the Aristo were closer. But I would say that the build quality of the Prius, like the Prius is cool, but like, yeah, it's more plasticky. The doors are lighter. So Gerard would love that because he loves light doors, apparently. But yeah, it's more like
it's just more chintzy. Like, it's supposed to be lightweight, you know. It's supposed to be, it's an economy car.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
you feel that
economy
a bit more.
car almost or something.
Yeah, you feel that a bit more with that. So, but I think like, and the question is like, why do you drive the Aristo? And it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Why do I drive the Aristo? But I have an affinity for that car. I don't have an affinity for any Dodge, like, you know, like ever. Well, yeah, no, I will say ever. Like, it's not on my list of like, oh my God. So if you gave me the option of a Type R over a Dodge, I would take the Type R. But that's because my loyalties are with Japanese automotive manufacturers. So I would go with that. Like I would be hard pressed. You'd be hard pressed to get me into like a North American built like car.
I kind of really want a North American built car, but I feel like I would want like an old North American built car, you know? Like if you're gonna have a North American built car, you might as well have like a hot rod or some shit that everyone just thinks is cool and like.
But I mean, isn't
you're not gonna get hassled with
T8 a hot rod?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like a hot rod. It's not like a no roof, open wheel like hot rod.
I mean, that's also like a pretty big stretch too, right? You've completely gone past muscle cars to like a Model T or some shit, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's sort of what
he wants a hot rod, not like a muscle car.
Yeah,
or a pony car. Yeah, no, I want to get the brand new, you know, like SRT, and I just want to leave those fucking like spoiler guards on the front in hot pink and drive around with those. That's what I want to do.
Honestly, I feel like I take a CTSV. I've always like been wanting a CTSV, but they're always sort of like out of the price range, or like maybe I didn't want one enough, you know. But yeah, I always thought CTSV was sick too.
There's a little bit of Kevin that likes rap video cars. That's I think
but
what I'm trying
sick.
to get at.
That's because they're sick.
You know, it's even funny now though. It's like rap video cars are now rich cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Back on topic. I'm for sure always going to choose a Japanese car before I choose a North American built car.
Yeah,
Korean built car.
I have to agree.
Hey, if you couldn't choose. I know the first answer, so we'll do this quick. If you could not choose the Japanese car, what's your second choice for
country?
For country of origin? Yeah, I knew that was the answer. Kevin, is yours the same? German?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm honestly even having trouble like imagining if I wasn't buying a Japanese car.
I would just give up and walk everywhere.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
If I can't have a Japanese car, fuck everything. Okay, so Gerard, if you can't have a German car, what are you gonna have?
I mean, there's nothing left, man. American. What else? What else is there?
Why didn't you get a Volvo? Why don't you like Volvos?
You get a Korean
You
car.
like Volvos. You can
Buddy,
get a
I was
Korean
so into
car.
Volvos.
I know you were. I've talked to you on the internet for hours.
What about a British car, bro? You could get a Lotus.
You could get a British car, and you had that too. See, we know
Aston
this
Martin.
about you.
I mean,
You could get an Italian car.
talking.
You didn't even choose Italian.
Yeah?
I bet you
Okay,
feel,
what's the
I bet you
budget?
feel real dumb
What's the
for
type
not
of
choosing
car?
an Italian car. I didn't give a budget. You could have had a Lamborghini and you chose a BMW. That's what happened.
Yo, man, dream a little dream.
Yeah, dream a little dream, Gerard. You
And that's
blew it.
true. I mean, I'll take a Mustang.
I didn't. Okay. Well, why? How did we get to this? Okay. So German's off the car, then you're choosing American. That's the next. That's your hierarchy.
Well, I mean, okay. I mean, if there's cost is no object, I'm getting
Okay.
a Lambo,
Cost is no
and
object.
then I'm getting a Porsche.
So technically, Italy would have been a second, and then German.
I don't know, man. The GT3 Touring is pretty nice. I'd probably rock that, and then I'd probably get. I mean, if cost was absolutely no object, I'd probably just buy like a some crazy Lamborghini thing. But I don't know, man. Even in today's day and age, it's like, what am I going to do with that thing? I'm going to drive it like once a fucking month, maybe once a week, maybe, because I can only fit my wife in it. At least with the Porsches, you got 4 seats. I could bring 2 of my kids in there, and it's
What
still
do you
like
do about the third kid?
She can stay home.
Get him an Uber.
She's still small.
Yeah.
Send an Uber. I like putting you in the Sophie's Choice spot where you have to choose who goes in the car. Okay. So, but realistically, if money is the thing that you have to be concerned about, you're going to go Japanese, German, and then American.
I don't know, man. Because I mean, if you're giving me a bunch of money, like what Japanese car?
No,
am I
but
buy?
money. Now you got to consider it.
Ooh.
Now you got to no. Now you got to consider it. Now it's just for everyday people. We're just fucking walking around and we got to buy a car, but you can't buy a Japanese car. What are you going to buy?
But I mean, I couldn't even tell you what Japanese car I would buy if you gave me the money. Today's day and age, what would I buy?
I don't know.
Like
You'd probably buy 2 JZX 100s, a JZX 110. Like
you'd buy a
I thought we were talking about new cars.
I just mean if I told you tomorrow, Gerard, you no longer have access to Japanese cars, your next option would be German cars, right?
100%.
Okay, and then if I told
100%.
you now you no longer have German cars, are you just done with cars, or what do you do?
Alfa Romeo Giulia.
Okay, and you have money for that? You could afford that?
It'd be a stretch, but I could probably do it.
I mean, if there's no more Japanese cars, then you can sell your Japanese car. So
yeah.
I just
okay. So how far down the line
is the Charger?
How do I get you to a point where you're choosing a Type R over a Charger? Because I actually feel like very early on you would choose a Type R in practice over a Charger. Not today, you won't. In 2 months, you would tell me a different answer. You'd be like, I started in Hondas. Yeah. In 2 months, you'd be like, I started in Hondas, and I would totally get a Type R.
No. Okay. Well, the other thing is like, obviously there's a factor that costs. Like, I bet you the Type R is probably, I want to say probably $60,000 or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like a lot of money. Yeah. But that's a lot of money for a front wheel drive compact car. That's just the same exact thing as the GR Corolla to me. I don't think a $60,000 front wheel drive compact car is good value. Like, I'm paying $60,000 for a car that I can't even slide. It's like, to me, being able to like burn out / do a drift or power slide or anything is a very important factor to me. And like the Type R just cannot do that, no matter how much it can corner, no matter how great the engine feels, no matter how nice the interior is, no matter how dope it looks, it still can't drift.
I was going to say, how did you live when you had your Honda? If this is the issue, I feel like all of us.
Before Gerard was fully addicted to the rear-wheel drive.
Oh, yeah.
But I also still No, that's not true because I always had rear-wheel drive cars. Even when I had my Honda, I had an AE86. I had a FB RX-7. I had
I see.
Gotta have all the
I
cars.
even had a Volvo at that point too. Like I always had, like I liked front wheel drive cars, and the reason I got into Honda so heavily was because of like this engine swapping and in compact car, sport compact car tuning was new, and like that was the newest thing, man. FCs, A86s, S13s, they're all old cars. I bought a brand new fucking Civic in '98, and like engine swapped it, nitrous it, wheels, the whole nine, and that was me being at the forefront of tuning, if you will, at that time. It wasn't like I was like there was no I couldn't buy an S15. I couldn't buy what was the newest sports car Toyota at the time? A Supra? Not even. The Supras were already old. So there was nothing I could buy that was
110
R. You can't just go buy that Type R and start tuning it, because the Type R now is A, it's already tuned, and B, it's like 60 grand. It's not 15 grand. Like when I bought my EK, it was $14,200. Pretty fucking cheap.
What's that with inflation?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Probably 20 grand.
Wait, year is that? 98?
No.
98. Yeah,
20 grand? How are you getting this? All right, maybe.
I think it'll be closer to like 34 or something.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, but I mean, sorry, it's only 14.2?
14.2, 1998, brand new. 0.3% interest.
14.
Feels like fucking nothing.
200.
And I had no qualms about taking the interior out of a brand new car, putting nitrous on a brand new car, because it was like a cheap
14,200 in 1998 is equivalent to 25,800.
Still today. Pretty cheap. 25K is still pretty cheap.
Yeah, I mean that's like a base level Civic is like 22, isn't it? Or sorry, like Corolla or Civic, any of that stuff.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
No Type R, but I mean, I guess yours wasn't a Type R either, though.
No, they didn't even have the Type R's back then.
I think that is interesting the way that you framed it as a side, because Gerard's always into the latest, like the newest thing. And at the time, that was the newest thing. And I don't even look at it that way. I'm like, oh, Gerard was fully a Honda guy for a bit, which isn't really the case. It was just he was into the latest thing.
No, I mean Honda tuning was like a giant deal back then, right?
Well, like I know that. I'm saying you were into it. I get that. I'm just saying, like.
But also, that's the thing. There were no other cars back then to tune, like unless you had an older car.
There were. I was just going to say that, but they're older.
I mean, what was it? 1998. What were the newest, hottest cars?
I feel like the Altezza had just come out, but like that.
What you mean the IS300?
So sorry, yeah, that car was super rare manual. Like there was like none of them.
No,
they didn't even make the manual until later. Yeah.
So like IS300, what would have been a Toyota fun car
in '98?
Yeah.
Well, let's
Supra.
See.
They had the latest Supra.
Yeah, that would have been really great. In '98, I would have been. Hang on, let me do the math here. So I'm born, and we add another 4. I'd have been 14.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm 14. People that were building cars in Regina at that time.
Cavalier.
There was Integras, Del Sols. There was an MX3, Civics, like SIRs, and Civic.
SIRs came out in '99. SIRs came out in '99.
Okay, well, Civic SIs, CRXs. I mean, they were old, but people were still building them at that point.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like, so like, what was the other brand? Mazda. What did they have? A fucking MX-3?
Miata.
I mean, you could have built a Miata.
You don't make fun of the Mazda MX-3. That car was awful, and I owned one, and I modded it. How dare you?
With Momo wheels?
Nope, my brother had Momo wheels. I had Gerard's favorite TSWs.
Yes, I did know that.
I had 2 sets of TSWs on that car, and I got a custom paint job on it. It had a body kit.
A body kit.
Me and Gerard would have been best friends. Not true at all.
I would have been clearance package.
Yeah, ground effects, I believe, is what we call them.
Yes.
I would have been. So when did I get my car? 2001. Yeah, Gerard, how old were you in 2001? 41 years old.
No, 2001.
I feel like 2001 is when I got my AE86.
I would have been 23 or something.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been friends. That's
because I had my AE86 in 2000 for sure. It might have been a bit before that, 99, 98, 2000.
No, I definitely didn't have mine in 2001 because I would have made me 15.
Yeah,
I didn't have it till I was.
When did Tokiko HTSs come out? That would have been 2000, I think.
When I was younger, and I guess I didn't know a ton. I really liked the Celica, like the last gen before they canceled the Celica.
Yeah,
I feel like if you don't really know about cars, it's like kind of a good looking car, but like
it looked like you don't. And here's the thing, though, it wasn't that I didn't even like know a ton. Like I knew a bit about cars, and I read Super Street as we've covered in the past, but it was like it just kind of maybe it was like you go from a Celica to a Supra, and a Supra is unattainable, but maybe one day the Celica is a thing. Do we say Celica or Celica? I've lost.
I say Celica.
I say them both. I also say one JZ and one JZ. So
I thought you said you took a hard line on not saying.
Yeah, but like I try to, but sometimes it just slips out.
Assimilation gets you, I guess. Yeah. So when I was younger, and then I would look at like magazines, and then at the back, I remember they'd have like ads for Supras and the Celica, and I was like, "Oh, the Celica, it's a nice car," but they were so expensive. Hey, you could have had an RX-7. Why did we ignore that?
Yeah, I mean,
a '98 RX-7, like an FD.
Well,
yeah, I mean, sure. If I had fucking tons of money,
that would have been the forefront of automotive tuning.
Yeah, that was a car, but that was way out of my reach.
You could have had a Stealth, bro.
Ooh,
could have been crank walking all over the place.
Could have just been out there, an Eclipse or Eagle Talon.
We did a lot of those. That's for sure.
All right. Anyway, we've really gone off. I was just trying to figure out how far we have to go down the totem pole until Gerard is in a American-built car.
Actually getting that charger,
yeah. Until
spending his hard-earned money to buy a charger.
He's never getting a charger. There's no way Gerard's ever getting a charger.
I agree.
All right, hold on. So
I feel like if anyone's getting a charger, it would be me. But I'm definitely also not getting a charger.
Yeah. And you're only getting a charger because you couldn't find a Chrysler 300.
Yeah, right. You could probably get a Chrysler 300 for free.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that's true.
A couple of things about American cars. So, what part of the reasons I love Japanese cars is I don't give a shit how old the Japanese car is. It's going to work. You know what I mean? It's going to start. The door's going to fucking open. The windows are going to go down. It's familiar. Any Japanese car, no matter what, even a Mitsubishi or some other weird ass key car or whatever, we all sort of have this knowledge of how it's going to feel. And we have this level of like expectation that it's just going to work and it's going to be familiar. Like all door handles and all like door locks and the shit in Japanese cars is pretty much the same. There's not like some really weird stuff, but like, so we did that road trip with Trent back in, I don't know, 2007 or something, and in the Chevy. So we took a Silverado, I guess it was like 2001 or some shit. Yeah. And everything in that thing is just weird to me anyways, because we're used to Japanese cars, fucking bench seats. Like there's not a single Japanese vehicle that has a bench seat. Maybe there was at one point like a Toyota or like a pickup or some shit, like a pickup or a Nissan pickup that has a bench seat. But even still, that bench seat would be familiar in some fucking weird way. Like your Dyna. Like your Dyna had a bench seat and it was familiar somehow. I don't know. It was different than a Chevy seat. Anyways, get in this Chevy. Weird ass fucking door handles. Weird ass door locks. Fucking weird ass window switches. The ignition is different, it has that thing where you put the key in and the two tabs that like make the key bigger, and it's fucking metal, right? The steering column totally weird, metal, and it's tilt, but it's metal, and then the hazard button is that weird little fucking thing on the side of the steering column. And like what the fuck is all that shit? It's just weird, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I get in and I'm just like, man, fuck this thing. And it's like brown cloth, but it's not like a Toyota brown cloth. It's not like a it's not like a familiar brown cloth. It's like a weird American brown cloth. The windows, even just the way the like vent windows worked in the back is just like the stupid latch and like it's just shit, right? And I'm thinking, man, like fuck this thing, like fuck being in this van all the way to California, this truck all the way to California. It's gonna suck.
That's why I feel like if I was gonna get an American car, I'd want it to be like an old like American car that has like a bunch of like soul or whatever you want to call it. So it's like you can just kind of look past all of those things because the feeling you get driving it. But like that's the type of vehicle where it's like literally it's like a utilitarian type of vehicle. And like now, like you don't have any soul. It's not fun. It's not cool. It's not practical. It's not efficient. It's not reliable. It's like there's like what does it have going for it?
Yeah, it literally had like it was before the LS, so it was like whatever fucking LT1.
LQ or something.
Shittiest. No. It's the shittiest engine in the entire world. Made like 200 horsepower and it was a 350. So yeah, even like the light switches, you know how you like pull it out? It's like a click, click, click.
Yeah,
and then the fucking wiper, this pinner little, everything's just different, right? I'm thinking, fuck this thing. So, but I mean, really 3-4 hours in, you know, you stop, you get gas, you get in and out of the thing, whatever. At the end of the day, man, a car's a fucking car. You get in the damn thing. Like same with when we took the road trip in the F450. That thing was totally weird. It had all this crazy stuff, you know, aircon seats, massage seats, like the door handles were giant. Like everything was way different in that thing. But like at the end of the day, car's a car, man. You get past all that shit.
You assimilate to the car, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know if Gerard does though. You of all people
You're still talking about that truck like 15 years later.
You waxed poetically about why we choose Japanese cars. You also show up at the shop and explain to Kevin about like the stroke and turn signals, and then you're like, yeah, but you just get used to it. You don't get used to anything, Gerard. Like it's like you've never met you, I feel like.
But also
you would for sure end up choosing the Type R over a Charger. I can't believe we've got so much mileage out of what do you think out of the new Type R, which is fucking wild.
Okay, so then the other end of the spectrum are the German cars. You go in a BMW, man, that shit's super weird.
I mean, that shit's weird too. Yeah, it's got like the window switches are in the middle. And
yeah. The first time I hopped in an E46 M3, I'm like, how do I put the windows down? You know what I mean? And it's like, it's on the like center console. And then how do I unlock the door? It's like you pull the handle. It's like the same as a Ford. There's no unlock. You just pull the handle once and then unlocks it. And then you pull it again and it opens the door. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Everything is just weird. But like, I think that's the thing. Is like, that's why Ryan loves his Aristo is because it's familiar, you know?
I think that's why we love anything is because it's familiar.
Yeah.
So I love you guys.
So speaking of familiar, though, it's like hopping in that JZX 100, dude. It literally just reminds me of a Cressida. Like I'm just like so stoked on it.
It is very Cressida-like,
especially the one I got because it's like I'm so stoked with it because it's like, yeah, like our Cressidas. I mean, they had a side brake, so they had that, but like.
Yeah,
we never got a good Cressida model. You know what I mean? We never had a Mark II like JZX. We never had a Tourer or whatever. So like the
7M GTE.
Yeah,
Cressida SR5.
Yeah, exactly. They never had that. So it's like the 100 I bought is literally almost the 100 version of a Cressida with the fucking same shitty interior and the same like 4-spoke ugly ass thin steering wheel. And like, I just think it's so cool. I'm so stoked on it.
Do you know what is really funny that I was trying to find these questions that people had asked because I had not ignored them, but forgot to ask them for a while.
Yeah.
And I went far enough back that someone was like, man, you guys make me feel real shitty about my JZX 100. And now Gerard has one, which is like, this is fully now, if anyone was ever like, man, Gerard's really shitting on JZX 100s, and now it's kind of like, oh, Gerard has ones. Now you know
they're all cool now.
Yeah. Now JZX owners will understand how I felt when 2 months ago you're like, hey, I don't know how much you guys know about EV cars, but let's talk about those. I'm like, holy shit. We've been talking about those for a year, Gerard, and you've just been fully like, not for me.
No,
all right. Anyway.
I mean, there's been a lot of progress in EV cars in the last year.
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
For sure. Like I want to say, like when we first started talking about EVs, there's fucking Tesla and like Tesla. That's it.
Like I don't know how many Polestars or like anything else do you see? I've literally seen like 2 Polestars, and I see like 50 Teslas a day.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. Like 100 Teslas a
neighborhood
day wouldn't be an exaggeration. I see so many Taycans.
I see a lot of Taycans too.
So many.
Yeah, because it's good value. Speaking of which, the other one's for sale in case everyone's looking for a Taycan Turbo S.
I think that's what our demographic is people that can afford.
Hey man, maybe they got uncles. They got fathers, they got friends.
Hey, you don't know how rich people are.
I got a pretty good idea. No, I don't. Listen.
Okay, anyways,
if you're listening to me talk about anything, you can't afford a Porsche. Go on, George. Sorry.
I'm going to say the other electric. Well, it's not a full electric, but like the other hybrid electric. Okay, so anyways, the vehicle I see the most, and I think because it's good value and it's because it's one of the only SUVs, is the Volvo XC90 Recharge, which is it's like a plug-in hybrid. I do see a ton of those in my neighborhood, but also that XC90 has been out for many years. Only the Recharge model came out recently, but I do see a lot of the Recharge ones.
Also, I feel that that's like a popular vehicle with people who want like a good like luxury-ish family car that's safe and reliable, but doesn't look super pretentious. Like it is it is a bunch of money, but you don't get those like that kind of look, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like you just
very,
like
very
wrapped
nice
Volvo, like you just did Volvo's entire marketing right there, like their entire brand. It's like safe, expensive, but not about the looks. Like,
yeah,
I guess that's true.
It doesn't say AMG on the back.
Get a Moose,
but you could get the Polestar upgrade for that. But it's only like 35 horsepower or something. It's not fucking cool. It's not slow though. I think it's 0 to 60 in like 6 seconds. So it's like as fast as my truck. As opposed to the Tesla that probably does it in like 3 or fucking something like that.
All right, hold on though. Here's the thing. I've asked Kevin like 3 times and then he's never got to answer the question, I don't think. Did you, Kevin?
Which one?
About what would it if you didn't drive a Japanese car, if you didn't have access to Japanese cars, what would be your next?
I think I would have to agree with Gerard. Like I would go probably towards German cars because there's just a bunch of them, you know. There's a bunch of manufacturers that are making rear-wheel drives across the platforms. So like, it feels like German cars is where you're going to go to. Yeah.
And then if you didn't have German,
I mean,
Kevin's into boats.
I don't know. Like that's the thing. It's like, it feels weird to just try and like pigeonhole like where you're going to buy every car just by the country that they were designed in or something. But
I feel like we do that as it is though. But I mean,
I just feel that like there's just so many cars that fit the bill of what I want. And then now also I do feel like I have like a bunch of brand loyalty. But like, you know, I have reached out and tried other things a little bit, but you know, like what I like.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fair.
I can definitely like there's a bunch of cool BMWs and Mercedes. Like, I don't know. I like Porsches. Those are sweet, but yeah, I'm probably not buying anything that's not Japanese.
Yeah. I would just give up. I would be like scorched.
I get that too.
Walk away from everything.
I fully get that too. One thing I will say though is like, after going to Villains, I was kind of like, oh, like it'd be really cool to like have a tow type vehicle, and like there's people there with like motorhomes and like huge trailers and stuff, and it's like definitely like another level. And then I was like, oh man, there's that cool Japanese tow truck, but then I'm just like, yo, like I feel like then you're just trading like one inconvenience for another, basically. Like, you know, it's not designed for North America, you know, like it's not designed to go 120. Like,
no.
So that's where I was just like, no, that's what I was like, all right, well, like I was like, this is maybe a reason to get an American vehicle. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
like,
Okay.
Maybe.
If I can't have what I want, I'm done. That's it. I'm out of here. That's how I live.
The funniest thing,
might as well find a new hobby.
Yeah, beer.
I recently got a ride in, I want to say like a 80s or 90s. Could have been a fucking 90s Dodge truck. Probably a 94 from Cam. He was towing something and he dropped me off back when I dropped my car off. And I got in that thing and like same exact feeling as the Chevy, but this thing was like even crazier because it was older and it's a Dodge. And I was just like, I mean, I literally have the feeling like people actually fucking drive these things. And it's like, I get it. You have a tow vehicle, like this and that. And like, remember, even when I drove with you back in the day in the Dodge, it's so foreign. And I think that's why Toyota trucks are so popular, because they're familiar, but they're a truck. And it's like, like they're just like us, like a much, much better truck as far as that shit goes.
You heard it here first. Gerard said Toyotas are good trucks. I feel like you usually don't say that.
Well, I mean, like Nissan, Toyota. I just meant like, like
you said Toyota. I got a sound clip.
Creme de la creme of.
I was gonna say like because Toyota doesn't make that truck that we're kind of talking about though. But I guess that would be like the Tundra.
The Tundra.
Yeah, Tundra's, but I mean that like is it like that? You know what I mean? It's not a Dodge though. It's not like
you're talking about like a Cummins diesel Dodge.
Yeah, I'm talking about like a vehicle that you're buying because you're like, I need to tow, Like,
yeah,
I mean, you can tow with a Tundra.
Yeah, I know.
I know what you're saying.
You can tow with a Tundra. You can also tow with like a Kia Optra or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, what are you towing? And like, how safe is it? And how quick can you go?
I mean, a Tundra. You don't think a Tundra can tow? I think a Tundra can tow like 8,500 pounds at least or something. For sure.
I feel like Chaub towed with a Tundra, but what do I? Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, my truck can tow 8,500.
Yeah, I mean, it can. I mean, Riley's truck can tow 7,500.
But I mean, like, you see?
He's also like, yo, it's like at the tattered limit. I have like, it like goes super slow up hills and it like breaks really badly and like, yeah.
But I mean, like the dudes in Australia tow regularly, like a lot of weight with trucks like mine, like huge campers, like, and they're like, yo, it tows so sick, like, you know what I mean?
Hey,
so like,
actually, hang on, I'm going to stop you because I don't care about trucks that much, but I'm going to make it into a question that I kind of care about.
There we go.
So, because Kevin mentioned this, if you had to get a tow vehicle, what would you get for a tow vehicle?
Talking with Kevin?
Both.
I feel like we already did
have a tow vehicle.
I feel like we both have vehicles that we could tow with.
Yeah, I have a tow vehicle.
Would you tow with your truck?
It's precisely why I bought my truck. Yes.
I've 100%. Never seen you tow with it. I thought you just bought it.
I've towed twice.
You told me once.
Okay. And then
I don't have a trailer.
Okay.
I don't know the dyno.
So that is the actual. So you're like full on, like your tow, like, 100%. Hey, Gerard, we got to get you to Wisconsin for final bout. You're like, put a trailer on the Infinity and we're out of here.
Yeah.
And then
I'd
Kevin,
have to get a lightweight trailer.
And then Kevin, you're like, the dyna's going cross country.
I already left a week ago because I go twice. Go half speed.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, I guess what you're talking about, Kevin, is like a Cummins. Like you're going to buy a Cummins because that would easily tow anything.
That's sort of what I mean. It's just like if you know what I mean. Like I feel like if you're towing 6,000 pounds, it's good to be able to tow like 10,000 pounds. You know what I mean?
But I mean, that's a total American thing. It's like you look at Europe and they don't fucking tow with a Cummins. And they don't tow anything with a Cummins. They tow.
No, but they also tow like the dinkiest little trailer that the car barely fits on.
But I mean, what's wrong with that?
I mean, you can't even buy that shit here. Like you can't not.
You absolutely can. They just cost way more.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like the American way. It's like you get this giant ass fucking truck that's like totally shit to drive, except for when you're towing. And then you get this fucking heavy ass steel trailer that's like, 20,000 pound capacity. And then you put your fucking 4,000 pound car in it. And now you're towing, 8,000 pounds, but like whatever, my fucking Cummins can tow 12. Like who gives a shit? But it's like, you know what I mean? Like why don't you get a trailer that's super light and super small that can that has a capacity of like 5,000 pounds or 4,000 pounds, put your 3,000 pound trailer on it with a bunch of wheels and shit, or car with a bunch of wheels, and tow it with your car that can tow 7,000 pounds, or truck or whatever it is, and you'd be fine.
Sometimes you got to move your skids through too.
Your what?
Your Bobcat.
Oh, yeah, exactly. like Neil's trailer is a perfect example. Like Neil's trailer, I think, is like 8,000 pound capacity or something. Like you and me, we would never, ever, ever tow anything that was 8,000 pounds. Like I'm not putting a Cummins truck on my trailer. Like you just go get another fucking trailer. I'm towing my car. That's it. I'm towing a car, maybe some fucking furniture. That's it.
Towing furniture?
Well, I mean, like it's a trailer. You might need it for like something else.
Oh, I see.
Fucking moving or something. You know what I mean?
Thought you were bringing furniture with you.
Certainly not putting a forklift on my trailer. You know what I mean?
All right. Okay. Well, then, so those are your answers with what you guys have?
I mean, I don't know. Sure. I don't really know.
I mean,
I would get a lightweight trailer. If I had an aluminum trailer with my truck and my car, perfect. Done. That's exactly the combo that I wanted.
Okay. I only asked this question because, Kevin, you were looking at tow options the other day. So I was just curious. And
yeah, anyway. I was also looking at like $300,000 like toter homes.
Yeah. And that's what I was like.
I was like, this exactly. I'm like, there's more square footage in this mobile living vessel than in my actual apartment,
Yeah, you could just live in that. You could drive everywhere and live in it.
Yeah, and it's like cheaper than an apartment too. So it really seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You could definitely buy one of those not converted, but like those like bus type motorhomes. Yeah.
That the car like goes in between the axles. No, what about the ones where the car goes like inside?
Oh yeah.
That's a toy hauler?
It's not even. It's like it's so ridiculous. It's like literally like the car goes in sideways in between the two axles.
Never seen that.
Yeah,
sounds fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
No, I would just mean those,
I know
those bus type motorhomes, and then just toy
I did look at a bunch of those toy hauler things, but they all are like really really short. Like they have like they're for like sleds or motorcycles or quads.
Yeah,
like, none of them have like a 20-foot garage, or none of the ones that I was looking at.
A perfect example is like Daryl. Daryl has like the biggest truck in the world, but he also pulls the biggest trailer in the world nonstop.
Yeah, it's also like
tons of cars in it.
Yeah. Also, it's not the biggest truck in the world.
Definitely not.
It's the biggest like pickup that you can buy for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, you can buy the there's an F550 and there's an F650 and there's.
But I mean, that's not a pickup. That's not a pickup.
Also,
that's like
I was being a smart ass is what I was actually doing, but I was just meant like there's monster trucks are big.
Oh,
yeah. Hey, Kevin's half brother asked us a question. Avec moustache. Oh, he added a thing to it. Sans
pulp.
It's always been like that.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well,
yeah, with mustache, without pulp.
We used to have a drift team called Juice.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like Kohei, Matt, and I. And then yeah, like we like had a side group out of that group called Without Pulp.
Ooh. That's a real funny. You can't sit with us vibe is what that is. All right. On the next, so Matt writes in. Thank you, Matt. And this is actually very fitting given where Gerard's at. Okay, on the next podcast, ask the guys what they think about that Shadow 6 thing. The RZR on top of 2 jet skis. G likes going to the lake with his family. I'm sure the other lake goers would love if he got one. Lol.
So it's a Razor on top. Oh my gosh.
Oh wow. Shadow 6 Racing Wave Runner RZR.
Yeah, I mean this is the first I've seen it, so it seems like it's probably pretty crazy.
That is nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, man, it's the very first aquatic utility vehicle.
Oh my god.
I just looked at a photo. What do you think
It's
of
like-
that, Gerard?
I mean,
Turn it up to 11, bud.
yeah, it's like that looks like an interesting way to spend fucking 100.
It looks like a
60
movie
grand.
prop.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, I would just take the 2 jet skis. Like why
And the
would
razor, just leave the razor on the beach.
Yeah, why would you? Why would you put that all together?
And what happens when you roll it now?
Yeah.
Is there no motor in the razor? Is there what's the motor in the razor doing in that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, yeah, like we saw this jet ski today that was like pretty sick. I mean, it's a pretty common one. It's a Sea-Doo something 3-seater, 1200 cc. Like it looks fucking so sick, man. I think I just want one. Anything that goes on the water with a motor is fucking cool. It doesn't matter what it is. Even without a motor, like I was kayaking today, like all that shit's sick.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
being on the water, being on the water stuff.
I guess you don't like it.
no,
And you
I
would just
don't like
take
it.
this. All right, there you go, Matt. Avec moustache, sans pulp.
Yeah, I also have to agree with Gerard on this one. I would just take the 2 jet skis and the razor separate.
Yeah. Or totally like just give me a razor or give me the jet skis or give me all of it, but don't give it to me together.
Yeah. My answer is if it's not built in Japan, I don't care. So I can't have it. Well, good. I'm glad that we asked that question. We got a lot of mileage out of that. Not like the how do you feel about the new Type R? I'm just enraged.
I feel like that was more of like an America versus Japan thing again.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. Look it up.
Oh, I just saw that, Gerard. You sent me a picture of a charger of the group. I don't like that. I don't want that in my life.
No,
I'm walking.
Well, dude, that thing looks so sick. But I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't.
The charger?
Yeah.
I don't even.
Sick.
Like I don't know how you can be into cars and not think that looks cool though.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out because I don't like it and I don't even want to be around anymore if that's in my life.
So hold up. So I did actually, speaking of American cars, roll the fenders on a Cobra like a couple weeks ago or whatever. It was like a Mustang.
Cobra?
Yeah,
there was also that Mustang at the drift event that was sick.
I mean, Mustangs, they're fucked. They're so weird. Like you get inside, the shifter. I mean, the shifter feels like a shifter. Okay, it had a Hurst shifter. Okay, whatever. It shifts into the gears. The clutch pedal, I swear it had like 10 inches of travel. 10. I'm not fucking kidding. 10 inches of travel. You know where it released?
Wow.
Half an inch from the top. And like, this thing was supercharged, headers, everything. Like, this car was so unbelievably loud. I just had so much trouble pulling it into my shop in the back because like with the hill and like the clutch and like it wasn't tuned, so like it didn't fucking idle, and the thing was just so obnoxiously loud. Like you would look at the gas pedal and it'd be like, "Rah!" Like just insane loud, and I'm like, fuck, like. And then I'm trying to use the clutch because the guy parked it in my driveway, so like I'm trying to use the clutch and like the handbrake doesn't fucking work, of course. And I'm releasing. What felt like for fucking 20 minutes, I'm releasing the goddamn clutch. And then it finally starts to grab. And anyways, super weird, super shitty to drive. I would never, ever have that car, no matter how fucking cool it was. I just couldn't get down with it. Just so fucked. Steering feels like shit.
Yeah, you're going to get a Type R.
Over that car, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I have thought about this, and here's what a side note is: I don't even need to write articles anymore because I just talk to you guys about things, and those become the article. So I was going to write an article about this, and then I was like, "No, I'll just talk to Kevin and Gerard about it." And we did the car show at a Spec-D event.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. It was like cool that we did that. You know, there was some hand-picked cars. It wasn't like a huge thing. It was like, how many cars, Gerard?
I think we've got
9, 8, 9.
Yeah, that seems about right. Probably 9. We'll just say 9 because of
nice even number.
Prosperity. Yeah, nice prosperity sake thing. Everything comes down to 9. And that I only am now ever around competition style drifting when it is spec-y once a year when they come to mission. I think I had this revelation where I was like, oh, I think that competition drifters, I could be very wrong, maybe feel a little bit of the way about us as we feel about them.
Well, I mean, you're making a vast generalization. But
That is a vast
stance cars.
Like, what do you?
Yeah, but that's the thing is that because I
What
was
do I
thinking
feel,
about that.
Ryan, about
Okay.
them?
Well, yeah, no. I feel like I've learned some things about you from editing your footage that is interesting. It's like, no,
Out with them.
Well, I do think that Kevin probably has a little more leniency or appreciation. We'll say appreciation for the competition style drift car than probably I might have. Or I'm going to go out on a limb and say maybe that Gerard might have. Gerard's shaking his head yes, but he's got to go look around his neighborhood.
He's got to go fight a bear.
Yeah, on a jet ski. I was trying when they were like walking around the car show area, and maybe I misunderstood or I didn't hear them properly because my hearing sucks a bit and it was loud. But I was trying to get them to talk about the Blit. Like I actually was like, no, like talk about the Blit. This is the only car like it in North America. Like it's super crazy. Like it's a 1J, like it's got a 6-speed in it, all these like custom parts. And I was just like trying to, and they were just kind of like, meh. And like, it didn't do anything for them. And now there's obviously different reasons for that. There's Gerard's an avant-garde and people don't get it until they get it. Or it's not like a purpose-built drift car. And they were just kind of like, oh yeah, no, we don't really like care about that. And I was like, man, how don't you care about that? And then I was like, maybe they looked at it as like a stance car, but I'm like, if you know anything about Gerard, you know that that's not really Gerard. Like Gerard will drift this given the opportunity, this car will get drifted.
100% that would be drifting at Evergreen. Yeah.
But I couldn't get them amped about it. But then like they're obviously like amped on like Denofa's old RX-8 and then that is like a cool car in its own right. A decent amount of the cars in that parking lot that were like considered the show cars have been drifted.
Yeah.
And I'm not even counting my car. I'm saying like J-Lo, your car, Kevin's car, DK has drifted his car. Then I was just like,
well, that
I thought it would have been funny if they had like a show car drift parade lap. You know what I mean? Like all the cars from the show get to go out and do one lap. I was like, that was sick.
I guess it was like a lesson in perception is what I'm trying to say is like, oh, they don't see what we see. They walked through the parking lot of what we had and they were like, oh, maybe these are just stance cars. And it's like, no, like that's actually not what SerialNine's about. It was just like a very interesting reminder about what that world is about. Because, yeah, it draws a certain type of person to compete. And Kevin, you've admitted that part of you is that type of person a little bit. You like to compete. And
I do feel that like sort of kinship to those people. And, you can kind of walk through the pits and like there's kind of like a certain type of person and you can kind of point them out. And it's like fully takes a certain type of person to like wrap their car up on the back of a truck and take it, like 14 hours away and drift it for the weekend and spend all of their money and then go back to work on Monday to try and work it all off and do it again next month or whatever it is. That definitely is a certain type of person to do that. And maybe the only type of people who do that and stick with it are that type of person. And that's why it's just that one type of person. But I feel like having done those things in the past, I can like fully appreciate the effort and how much work it takes to be there and to do that. It's like, I'm not going to Edmonton. Like, I'm not going to Calgary. But all those dudes are coming out here. And that's like that's like a ton, that's like that's a haul,
Yeah, like all those guys think they're going to make it,
Well, but that's the thing is like Jesse from Odd Man Out won his license to go drive FD2 or Formula D Pro 2 or whatever. And I was like, are you going to? He's like, not a chance. It's like, I'd like to, but like, how do you even make that be an option? And I think it's pretty easy to forget that like I come from the background where I started shooting those events, and like Kevin and I talked about this prior a bit, and like Kevin, you kind of said like, oh, Ryan, I don't think you like sometimes see what those cars are actually about. And I was like, no, I do. Like, you go to Formula D, and I think I said to Kevin, like, some of those cars, no drift cars photograph like Formula D cars. Like they something about them. Whoever designed the livery on those cars, it's like, man, they're easy to photograph. Probably also because they're going insanely fast when they do their entries. And
and tons of smoke and tons of angle.
Tons of smoke.
Extremely close to like the walls and each other. It's a very dynamic.
It's
scene.
Super. Like, and for some reason, it's like it's easier. It almost feels like it's easier to get the camera to like focus on the liveries on certain cars, and it's like, okay, like I totally get it. I come from that background. It wasn't until much later on in my whatever fake career of photographing events where I like found like, oh, like stylish drifting. Like I was pretty old before I saw the light. I do get it, but I think the whole thing was just very interesting. And I'm always reminded of that. Like, man, like I kind of live in a bubble of like, fuck, drift cars should look fucking dope. And that's all I want is for them to look dope. And I'm not saying that they don't look dope. They're just very different, like they're.
Yeah, but I mean, I think also within that realm, I think there's probably 4 drift cars at that thing that you could pick out and be like, those cars were way doper than the majority of the field,
Yeah. But
like,
that does.
And same thing back in FD, I'm sure at like any point you could have been like, these 4 cars, like this, this one has a sick livery. This one's super low. Like this one is just like, like when Ross Petty had that like Bozo S15 that was like fully 3 different candy paints on the car. Like that car was so nice just because of that, like. But I do know what you mean. It's just like overall in the whole, 4 cars that are sick out of the whole event is not like final bout where 94% of the cars are sick.
But there still is a thing that happens when I go to an event that like, regardless, there's still like, all the cars at final bout are nice. But then when you put them at final bout, because you're at final bout, there's still cars that are less nice than the other cars that are at final bout. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. 100%.
Like once you put everything on that scale, like once the bar has been raised, not everything's even keel. It's like, oh yeah, now there's what would be really cool at a local event now maybe became bottom tier. And you're like, oh, yeah, and it's a very interesting thing that happens. But how do you feel about being not relegated, but we'll say it, relegated to being like the car show people at a drift event? Because that, I almost would say that isn't actually very Serial 9.
I'm okay with it. I'm cool to just have a presence. If you take our exactly what we did there and maybe put it, I don't know, in like Midwest or like fucking Florida or California, it might have a different reaction. Who knows? Like those guys might have actually known that the CD 999 shifter is, an extremely popular shifter for people in that realm. So like maybe they would know and be like, oh yeah, Serial 9, like fucking cool. But like these guys, they all sort of looked at the booth and the cars and thought, like.
So that was one thing I was going to.
What is this foo-foo shit,
Wanted to say earlier was like, sort of like, imagine like when we were at WECFest, you know what I mean? It's like, we were getting our cars ready, and then like, you know what I mean? And then we had to drive down there, and then there was like the like ordeal with the hotel, and then we got to WECFest, and then we had to like film our intro, and then it was like, like I couldn't look at every car. I probably walked right past some crazy cars and like didn't pay any mind to them because I wasn't taking the time to look at all of the details and like fully appreciate it. There were some builds there where I ended up going home and looking up about the car. So I was like, oh, like that's cool. But like, I didn't talk to the guy then. I just walked right past him and like, it's like, oh, like I'm wearing my Serial 9 shirt and like Serial 9 just walked right past my shit. And like, they obviously didn't care. And it's just like, everyone's kind of doing their own thing. It's like, I'm sure those dudes who walked through the car show were like literally going from spotting or something for their buddy to back into the pits and they had to go eat or what, you know what I mean? Like, not everyone has all the time to come and talk to you.
It was actually like a really great experience. I'm glad we went. I was very happy. It was fun to be there. A lot, like and I
You talking
really
about the Spec D event or the
yeah.
podcast?
Well, now I'm talking about Spec D because I don't.
Oh, okay.
Overall,
okay.
like I really like the Spec D event. It's like a nice reminder, kind of what got me into where I'm at, and I like seeing that. I like seeing people do what they're passionate about, which is great. Like I love that. And I'm not saying like obviously everybody watched through and was like, "Fuck this shit, I don't need this." I just thought it was just a very interesting thing because I do live in a bubble. I spend a lot of time with people that kind of see eye to eye with me on what drifting in my mind could be. And there's a very different school of thought out there. And there's definitely room for that because it's a little bit when I'm like, yo, this split is fucking sick. And people are like, I don't really get it. It's a wagon. And then I keep walking. And then they're like super into like some V8 swapped car. And they're all about that. Where like I had that conversation with people while I was taking photos of the drift event where they're like, this car is fully sick this year. And then I saw the car and I was like, oh yeah, you know, like if I guess if that's like kind of what you're into. But then it's funny because on the other side of that, it's a lot of like, yo, look at this blit. And then they're like, yeah, I guess if that's like kind of what you're into. And it's like, yeah, but you don't get it. And they're like, no, you don't get it, man.
The blitz, what it is, man. It's like it's difficult to understand car. Like who the fuck would even, unless you're into wagons, period. Like you're not gonna look at that car. You know what I mean? Even JZX guys don't give a fuck about that car. It's like if you're not into wagons, you're not gonna even look at it. If you don't, for some reason, like are one of those guys who like is kind of weird and into wagons, you're not even gonna look at that car.
The other thing that was actually really interesting about the car show is the amount of people that loved JLo's yellow S13, because I think in that circle and that world, it became the most relatable, right? It was like, oh, it's an S. Yeah, like it's an S chassis. It's a bright color, you know, like, but it's low. And it was like a variation of what people were used to. Like what you'd actually see out in the field is what you were seeing at that car show, but in one cohesive like street styled piece, whereas like nobody was really looking at the Aristo and being like, oh yeah, like you could take that out there, you know. And DK's JZX is like super cool to look at, but I don't know, wasn't drawing necessarily like the same type of crowd.
I feel like one thing I'll say is I feel like that particular drift crowd as well is probably, they didn't seem like the type of people that would even know or care about like a JZX 100, JZX drift car or whatever. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like that was probably a good part of it too.
I mean, I feel like if you're in that scene, you definitely know what you're not knowing about a JZX drift cars, you know, but there weren't any JZX drift cars, I don't think. There was that Laurel and the Skyline and another Skyline, and a shit ton of BMWs.
Oh man, like drifting has come so far that like all those, like there is the perception of what can be and what can exist is vastly probably grown so much over the last 7 to 10 years.
And that's cool because I mean, like when I was into drifting for like 3 or 4 years, like the only possible thing you could do was like try to go pro. There was no like people just building their cars to have fun and like drive with their homies. Like it's like you go to events, you get better, you try and every event was like a competition. Like even like every event had a competition at the end, you know?
Yeah.
It PGPs had competitions?
Maybe not, but it felt like all the Western events had a competition. This the Western event I'm going to on the island this weekend, I guess, has a competition. Like I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, when I started shooting, everything had to have a competition. Even like when we organized our first drift events in Saskatchewan, they had to be like, they were competitions. It was like, and then the second time we did it, so we did this big competition and we called it the Big Valley Driftery because it was named after the Big Valley Jamboree. Anyway, doesn't matter. The second time we did it, so the first time it drew a big crowd and the track loved it. And then the second time we did it, we were like, no, we're going to call it like a camp. And the whole point is so drivers can come out and put in time and like actually like hone their skills. But the track didn't understand that. They were like, we're like, no, you're not going to have a crowd. You're going to have a few people that come out, but we're not advertising. You're not doing price of admission, like big ticket sales. This is so that drivers.
What's in it for the track? Why would they want?
Well, we still rented the track. Like we paid them money 2 days to rent the track, and there were drivers there, and they would use the concession. But it wasn't the first time the Dodologic guys did a drift event. It was like in partnership with the autocross people there. They weren't really interested in drifting, so they let us do it our way. It was like 400 people ended up at this track. The track owners loved us. They drained their well pretty much because of us. They sold a ton of concession. They were like, we can go to Europe now on this trip. It's going to be great. And then the next time we came back, we were like, hey, we're going to do a 2-day event again. They're like, yeah, you are. And then when we did the event, we're like, but it's not the same thing. We only do one comp a year. That'll be at the end. This is like just so drivers can come out and like have fun on the track.
Yeah.
And they kind of, from that point, the relationship started to sour because it was like, it rained a lot that weekend. There were some dirt drops. They were meant to be a kart track. They wanted to charge a bunch of money. Anyway, tale as old as time. It was it was a racetrack not being acquainted with drifting and understanding what it is. You know, they see dollar signs, and then when they actually like see what a drift event is like, they're like, whoa, why aren't I just making straight bank off this? And we ran into troubles. But yeah. Anyway, Kevin, do you ever missed competition drifting? I know you did it last year, but like,
I just like miss drifting, maybe, you know what I mean? Like,
tell me about it.
I also missed drifting. I took a decent amount of photos at the Specty event. I forget that like pro cars or like cars set up that way, like they do make a lot of smoke. They make cool noises, and they do draw a crowd. Like that is, I mean, objectively, I think that style of drifting is probably easier for people to attach to.
It feels it's like it's not so foreign. I feel
it's not so niche. I think it's like
it feels like for a normal person, they're like, oh, okay, it's like a tournament and like one guy versus the other, and someone moves on, and you can cheer for someone each time.
But also, I feel like,
you know what I mean? If it's like a big drift jamboree, you're just like, what? Like, when do I stop watching? When do I start watching?
But also, I feel like level is higher, and the things are doing what you think they're doing. Like if your kid thinks of drifting, he thinks of like high speed, smoke, whatever. Like the whatever fucking car it is, he might not know yet. Like, but even for example, Dominic, he sees a car that has like crazy livery and like makes crazy smoke and is super loud. And like whether it's low or not, it's not important. Whether it's cool or not, it's not important. It's that it's doing the thing that you think it's supposed to be doing, which is drifting, right? It's drifting the most. So when you go to Formula D, you get the dose of like, that's like the heroin of drifting. You know what I mean? It's like the fastest, the loudest, the competitionist, the fucking craziest cars, the most smoke. It's the most. And then you drop down to like whatever fucking Spec D was, the Spec 2 shit. And it's like, a little bit of smoke, a little bit of speed, a little bit of talent, a little bit of this. And then you drop down to like the grassroots, and it's like the cars are cool and the drifting is still drifting. But it's like, it's like cocaine versus fucking fentanyl or something. You know what I mean? It's like, you're still getting.
It's not.
I mean,
is it like cocaine?
I mean, I think it is. It's glamorous. It's
grassroots, man.
I was gonna maybe marijuana. I don't know a lot about drugs though.
I don't know.
Maybe it's a nice cold craft beer, Gerard. A nice artisan beer. Like you got to know what you're tasting when you're there.
I mean, I guess I'm saying like it's as far as like I'm talking about as like the level of drifting, dopamine that it provides. I feel like it's a lower level. Like if you were to take Mr. Average Joe and show him a final bout and then show him a Formula D event, sure as fuck, they're going to be way more excited to watch a Formula D event.
Well, it's a fucking spectacle, you know?
Yeah. No.
It's like the circus coming to town.
What we is a very refined taste that requires a little bit of knowledge of what you're watching, I think. And I mean, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but like most people that would come to an event that we would be about for drifting would know, like, oh, like that pink car. If I were to be like, it has a 1J in it, they'd be like, a 1J never came in that pink car, and it's got a 6-speed. Like, you would kind of.
But I mean,
the jump would be easier.
Let me just stop you right there. It's like, okay, it has a 1J, it has whatever. Like, if you just remove the fucking type of motor it is, because it's fairly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, how much horsepower does it have? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Who gives a fuck if it's a 1J? Does it have 700 horsepower? Does it have 1,000 horsepower? Those kids or those people that be like, oh, that's like a 1,200 horse drift car. They don't give a fuck what kind of engine it is. They don't know what kind of engine it is. Like, it could be a 4-cylinder, it could be a 6-cylinder, it could be 8-cylinder, it could be a JZ, it could be anything. As long as it does the thing to the most, it satisfies that, like, you know what I mean? And here we are trying to explain. Here's you trying to explain. Oh, like a 1J, like never came in an Altezza, and like an Altezza's like a Japanese.
Why do I gotta sound like that? Why can't I be cooler? Use your
that's what I'm saying Gerard is like, voice. I'm saying like,
fuck you.
That's like fucking the World of Warcraft of drifting, man.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna.
Like, we're all fucking like kind of nerds. You know what I mean?
I think that is 100% it. I think you're nail on the head. We are nerds about it, and it's just a giant group. Like your drug analogy didn't hit because I don't know enough about illegal highs. I was going to be like, maybe pro drifting is like the PBR of drifting. Whereas like, and I could be like, Kevin likes craft beer enough. But also if I feel like in a pinch, Kevin will also drink PBRs and be like, totally can live that life. Like, Kevin's got enough
less
of the
than a pinch is going to take me away.
Yeah. Kevin's got enough of the streak in him. Like I was going to be like, when we were talking about the drivers, it was like, I was going to be like, a lot of Pit Viper glasses in there. And, I was like, Kevin will fully rock Pit Vipers, like that's kind of my thought.
I don't have them, but like,
give a guy a PBR. Why?
And then you're talking about the Blit, and it's like, dude, the Blit is like the weird ass, like super rare sword that you can only get by fucking slaying. Okay,
I was talking about beer. Why are you making it so nerdy? Just say that drifting is craft beer. The drifting that we like is the craft beer.
It's not even, because what Gerard's saying is that the pro level drifting is a much more exciting flavor. And is going to pull people into the beer world.
I think it's just about
more
the
so
masses,
than your
though.
weird craft beer, where you're just
but I think like
the barley level of this beer is 42%. Where I only like barley level.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly what you would get in the craft beer scene. The craft beer scene is like, the IBUs on this are much higher, and I don't like the hop. This hop isn't my favorite. Yeah. Whereas like a PBR is I
don't like a Blitz 03, but I like this SSR.
But then if I give you a PBR, you're just there to like, I can drink 20 PBRs and get fucked up. That is.
But like, you have to realize that the people that are going to these events and the people that are like being introduced to drifting are like, I don't give a fuck what kind of beer it is. I just want to get drunk.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're there to party.
Yeah.
And then if you're like, hey, this is like a really interesting beer that has a high percentage, and they're like, it's too far removed. I don't like the can. Where's my PBR? It tastes like pine. Now I made them nerdy, which they're not. They're the cool ones, just crushing brews. And I'm trying to explain to them about the brewery and how there's no other brewery like
this one brewery. Yeah,
exactly.
No, I think that's fair. That's and if we're wrong, and if pro drifting is the craft beer or whatever refined tastes, please make that argument and let me know.
Let
I'm
us know in the
totally open.
comments.
Yeah, like and subscribe. But no, I'm open to hearing that. I want to know more about that. But I do totally agree that pro drifting is way more accessible than whatever the shit is we're into. And I think that's what I was trying to get at is like, I was reminded of that. And I think it's nice to be reminded of like, my way of seeing things isn't necessarily the only way of seeing things all the time.
My sort of gauge is like the ride height, right? So like I didn't even look at those cars because they were too high. Whereas like every other dude, like the drifter guy, probably wouldn't even look at my car because it's too low. So they're like, there's no way that's a drift car. There's no way you can drive that. That's probably some stupid fucking air ride car. Like, you know what I mean? They just, it's too low. They don't look at it. They're like, yeah, that's dumb. Like, look at the camber. You can't fucking drive that thing. And that's it. It doesn't matter if it's a wagon, a JZX100, a S13, doesn't matter what it is. It's too low. It's too cambered. It's off the charts. They can't understand it.
Yeah.
Or they just don't respect it or care about it.
Now, if they were to watch the box one video of Gerard's car, they would learn that none of those things are true. But
it doesn't show the car drifting. Like, I think until that car is actually shredding in some sort of fucking any kind of facet, nobody gives a fuck. Like, I barely give a fuck. Like, it sounds cool. I like driving because it's my car, but like, I just want to go sideways and fucking burn off a set of tires for fuck's sakes once and for all in that car. You know what I mean?
You just want to do red shit with your friends.
Yeah. Why? How do we get that done? How do we get to doing that?
Well, I'm gonna put the injectors in and get it tuned, and then I'm gonna go hit up like 192nd fucking industrial zone or something. I don't know.
Good. Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think most people would probably look at that. I have decided that the word that we're trying to find for Gerard, we're always like, he's ahead of the game. Gerard is avant-garde, is what I've decided. I'm going to start calling Gerard.
Avant-garde? I like
that. Yeah, that is the avant-garde. And that is that. All right, you guys. I'm glad that Gerard joined us from a van for this recording.
I'm glad it all worked out.
So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys. So thanks for hanging out. And thanks to everyone who's written in and said, one, ask questions. And two, everyone who just writes in and is like, hey, I really enjoyed the podcast. Yeah. Regardless of like when they started listening to it.
Everybody likes the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for liking it.
Yeah, everyone that hears it likes it that I know. No, that's not true. Cole Chalmers reached out, said he liked it. I appreciated that. Cole Chalmers is an OG media guy and drifter from Western Canada that now lives in the US. Thought that was great.
He's a Cressida guy.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I really appreciate it. I love it when people reach out. Lets me know that we're doing okay. Lets me know that we're heading in the right direction. And we'll probably work on having more guests on in the future. Gerard, thanks for taking some time from your squash tournaments and boat races and polo
regalias.
And to hang out with Kevin and myself. Always a pleasure. Enjoy your rest in your ivory tower, and I will talk to you guys when I talk to you.
All right, man. Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for being our friends.
Thanks for listening to Serial Podcast 9.